here at ACO Radio, American Communications Online, or any affiliated stations or websites are not responsible for what guest hosts or call-ins may say. All programming is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello, world. This is TJ Morris, and you are listening to ET Radio. Welcome aboard, all you ground troops, spinning around smartly on the planet Earth, Gaia, Terra, where we call home, and we are internationally broadcasting from Gulf Breeze, Florida, with Vox Nest and Blog Talk Radio. And today, I have a guest of our Ace Folklife Society. He is actually, as of May 2021, the president, as the man on the street who will be helping us with all of our artists, our authors, our musicians, and just people you meet every day on this time on the planet. And he is going to be helping us from Grand Rapids, Michigan to New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm going to let you know his story of origin today as artist, chef, former American, and I think he's still an American, but he's well known for doing around the world his audio and his video work with me as a musician singer with Broadcast Music Incorporated. I'm out of Nashville, and I'm also recorded with New York because of my work as a singer, songwriter, producer, and I'm very much a talent scout, and I have really done a lot of shows and a lot of interviewing people. And Scott is one of these talented international people with art as a chef, like you've seen on Hell's Kitchen, as well as New Orleans cuisine, which I'm down here in the South along the Gulf. And he is actually in transit, but right now we're going to meet Scott, so you're hearing a lot of sound. So Scott is with me on my line. I may have to get him to call back in, but we'll see. Scott, are you alone right now, or are you with other people?
I got Todd right next to me, my buddy, my cooking buddy.
Okay. Buddy. Okay. Does Todd also work with you in Grand Rapids as a chef, or what does he do?
He's been a prep cook for years. He's like a high-end prep cook. He runs all the prep cooks underneath him, and he's done it for years, and he's very skilled at it.
Good. Well, talk to him if he wants to stick around. So, Scott, tell us a little about yourself. We're going to get your story of origin, and maybe we'll get Todd's because we don't know a lot of people in Grand Rapids. We used to have a lot back 8 years ago, a lot of artists, a lot of musicians up there. But I understand that you are going to be traveling, but let's get your story of origin as you were born in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Let me see if I can find that. Normally we set our shows up with a little short bio for you, and I had that pulled up. So let me read this, folks, to make it easier, because he may be a little shy about bragging about himself because he's a father and a musician internationally. He's been working with people all over Europe and Switzerland. He's actually been to the UK. But Scott Philip Breen's an artist, chef, singer, software developer, and a Renaissance man in the way we say in the 21st century. Scott was born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he was born on Friday the 13th, September 13th, 1974. He was born to live and shine in artist's world, but he was up to the latest trends in today's reality. So we call him an artist, and he is the art futurist creating media for mixed reality, in quotes. That's a little tagline he uses. Now, we met only in May, but he has agreed to help us in the shift of the waves in this reality from 3D to 5D. You'll hear a lot of us in the mystics, oracles, psychics, sages, seers, shaman, but we're also being artists and musicians. Use the energy that we understand to move all of us as a global consciousness, a critical mass consciousness forward. Some of us do it straight. Some of us do it because we just have a natural ability to go into other levels of being in our sleep, and we are called phase spacers, which I am one, multidimensional. I am a precog and a psychic, but I've died, come back, died again. Now, Scott is actually a father of at least 6 children, and many more possibly that we may talk about later at the last hour of the show. But he is designing all types of cuisine and fine dining. He's learned in Grand Rapids and New Orleans, where he will be selling his art in the future because he's moving back down to New Orleans for his job as a contractor. Now, he loves history and researches ancient cultures. And even as a child, he was found out to do amazing things like a savant child. He did encryption code at 8, and he did a board game in 1982. So he was in a talent contest, and he became an Eagle Scout, and he performed on stage. By the time he was 16, he was singing and performing, and he was actually writing his own songs. Now, as I said, he has 6 children, works in digital marketing services with me on computers, and he's using his artwork in what they call ARVR tutorials. He's actually got his own, we'll repeat it again at the end on YouTube, and it's a long name, but I did find it on what he gave me. Now, in his artwork, he uses mixed mediums. He is presently 47 years old, still living to tell about his art and as a street artist in New Orleans, and he works part-time as a contractor in ARVR stage setup and all media production consulting. Now, the future is augmented reality, he's telling me, with the entire cyberspace culture, TV, movies, museums, internet security, targeting, imaging, portal projects, and mixed reality. So he is right up my alley, being an artist, singer, songwriter, so we have a lot in common. Not to mention I dabble in all this as a developer running for my company, American Communications Online and ACO Association. So let me save this little intro because we had to swap to 2 different shows, and you may not can see this right now, but we'll be more than happy to go back and put that in tonight's show so you can see it. And this later on will be on Spreaker and on YouTube, Spotify. We're on iHeart, just about any way that you can think of radio. So for all Scott Breen's friends in Grand Rapids, Michigan, including Todd, we welcome you to our show. So without further ado, Scott Breen. Scott, tell us all about yourself and your story of origin. I understand this is your first time doing your memoirs on a radio show. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm just not a big interview guy, but I'm happy to be here and talk about what I'm doing. It's a little bit different. I do design differently for these mixed reality mediums. Mine is more art-based. My coding is more of a visual coding. I don't do the 0-1s that people normally do. I personally call it ethereal coding, and it's kind of a quantum encryption based on visual visual tricks. I use a lot of optics, and I interject them into my videos, into my 3Ds, and they create a self-animating quality. They're a low-weight asset, which is really good for the mixed reality formats that we have out right now, which is a requirement to make them function well.
Well, I've seen some of your artwork, and I was really impressed with what I saw. And I really don't understand it all, but being an artist, I guess we all don't have to understand each other's mediums. Right now, mine is TJ Mars ET Radio, and I do branding and help entrepreneurs, and I'm a life coach. I help people get from point A to point B and hopefully keep on a timeline that's in this 3D reality, while a lot of people are experiencing fourth and fifth dimensions. Now, I'm putting up my portal that I use for entertaining people, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, including energy. But first of all, let's get your story of origin. That's the way we always do that, to bring on our artists, musicians. And Ace Folklife is art, culture, education here in the USA, but this is going to go out internationally, and is, by the way, live. We have people all over the world listening to our show right now. So let's talk about you. People are always impressed with Americans, believe it or not, because they all want their art sold. And I've talked to a lot of people in other countries. I'm working with India. I've got about 4 companies over there I'm working with in digital marketing, digital services, and they all want to come to USA. So tell us, Scott, what was it like growing up in Grand Rapids, Michigan?
Culturally, for me, I mean, Grand Rapids is a great place to raise a family. It's not the most culturally highbrow city. Kind of felt like a fish out of water my whole life. The Midwest is just it's where I grew up, but I just always kept pining away, and I like to learn. So I just felt no matter where you are, your limitations are only as great as you make them. And especially with the advent of the internet, I've learned so much more, even being in a region where high culture is it's not as prevalent. And I don't know, I felt kind of like an outsider my whole life in Grand Rapids, but I would say that it's a good family community. It's a safe community, and it was a good place to grow up. But it's not the place that I need to be doing what I need to do, and that's why we're going to New Orleans.
Now, you were called an Eagle Scout. Can you tell me, how did you get into that? Because you were born in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Were your parents and grandparents from there, or were they from the old country? Give us a little history of origin.
Well, my grandparents everybody was from Grand Rapids. We were a Polish West Side Catholic family. I just got lost in my head. It was just I don't know how to explain my family.
Well, your mother and father, I understood they were scout leaders or something, because my father was an Eagle Scout leader.
Well, my dad was into scouting when he was young, and he almost got his Eagle, and that was kind of like why my parents were adamant about getting us in. Both my parents ended up being regional scout leaders. My mom did the Cub Scouts. I started as Bobcat and worked my way all the way up through Eagle. I didn't do the Eagle Palms, which is an extension after Eagle, but I by the age of 16, I made it to Eagle. My brother did Eagle too. Our parents were pretty active in it. My dad was an assistant scout master when we got older, so it was that encouragement. I will say, when I was 16, I wasn't too hip to finishing it. I got into like a more avant-garde music, and things changed a bit. I was still a Boy Scout. In fact, the night I got my Eagle, I went to a punk rock show in my Boy Scout uniform, and so I'm kind of an anomaly in that way. Like, I like counterculture, but I'm a very moral person, and I believe in human kindness and goodness.
Yes. So you were raised Catholic or non-denominational, or both?
I was raised Catholic, but we weren't strict Catholic. I did my first communion. I didn't. We just weren't strict about it. My mother grew up in going to Catholic school, and she was left-handed, and it was the 1950s, and just there was a bad hangover for my mom. I was surprised that we were still in the Catholic Church. Its policies, like in the 80s, I remember the policies against homosexuals got stronger, and at that point, my mom left the church. So she was still kind of a part of it, but we go to Easter and Christmas Eve at Mass, and other than that, we weren't really that strict about it. But in my adulthood, I'm more of a pluralist. I don't believe that faith is bad as long as the intention's good.